Okay, so my auctions just ended for these pieces. This is the auctions I was talking about. So as you can see, it's a set of stoneware, little tea set, like a children's tea set. And it has a really cute, sorry about the shadows, this is late at night again, bunny design. And you can see the maker is Hadley, M.A. Hadley. So the auctions just ended, and I had divided these up into several different auctions. So I did the little cups and saucers as one, and I did the teapot as one, and then the sugar and creamer were separate. They all have the little bunny. Then there were these little like bread and butter type plates, but they're personalized with names. There's Cece, and there's Nikki, and there's Ellie. And what's interesting is I just kind of threw them in the auction. I wasn't sure how they would do being personalized, but actually Ellie had a couple bids, and the winner ended up buying both the Ellie and the Cece. So Nikki is the only piece out of all this that didn't sell. So I'll just relist her at a fixed price. And then the tray is what I had the highest hopes for. There was a sold on Worth Point for about $65. It's a big heavy duty thing, so it's about 12 inches across. So let me show you what the auctions ended at right now. Teapot. I had looked at some comps and some solds for the teapot, and the prices weren't that exciting. So I didn't really have a lot of high hopes on this one. I think there was some solds in like the $15 to $20 range. So I thought, you know what, if I at least get 20 for this one piece, that'll be great. I know it does say that there were 3 bids, but it's all the same person. So she bid her initial bid, and then she raised her bid a couple times. But since no one bid against her, it just stayed at the $19.99. So that was kind of right where I expected. Now, the same buyer also bid on the sugar and creamer. So that's a cute little set that she ended up with. So same thing, she was the only bidder on the sugar and creamer. I started those at $19.99. So a nice little $40 sale putting those two together. Next one, I just mentioned in the little video that these personalized ones, I wasn't quite sure how they were going to do, but I figured we'll just throw them up there, see what happens. This one actually surprised me that there were 3 bids, 2 bidders, and it went, I started it at $9.99 and it went up to $18.47, which that was one of the surprises of this auction. And then, like I said in the video, that same buyer bought the CC plate and $9.99 one bid, and they ended up with both of those. So that was a nice little sale to kind of combine. It just makes shipping a little bit easier when they buy more than one. I didn't necessarily want to list the whole thing together, but I'm kind of glad how it worked out, so that it kind of got split up, but not each thing selling separately, especially these little ones only selling for 10. So, and then the one that didn't sell was Nikki, and I still haven't relisted it, but I should do that now. And I will get that into fixed price. I'll probably just keep that at that same price, or maybe do like $12.99, because I always have my 10% coupon running. Now, this was one of the surprises of the day. So I saw the little cups had sold in the past with the teapot. So I don't know that I saw any separately, or I don't really remember the comps in great detail when I was researching. I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to break this whole big setup into different things, and we'll see who ends up with what. And I started the bids on these at $24.99. And yeah, the bidding started really fast on these. and I was shocked it ended at $96. And it was really like an old-fashioned auction, like a back in the day eBay auction, because it was, here, I just wanted to show you, there's a signature, and then inside the cups it says the end. That's kind of cute. But anyway, it was like an old-fashioned auction. It was very exciting because the bidding happened throughout the week, which was surprising. And you could tell, you know, it was just people auction, you know, bidding. And then that's what I mean to say. By the end of the bid, the end of the auction, so Tuesday night, we're sitting there watching, and like nothing had happened all day Tuesday, just one or two bids. And I thought, oh, people are using, because there's sniping programs out there that computers will bid for you at the last possible second. But it was like the last 20 minutes, and you could tell it was just people sitting behind their computers, and they were bidding against each other. So that was kind of fun. So yeah, $96 for those 3 little cups. Now, I have not shipped these yet because the buyer asked me to hold off shipping them until December 31st. Okay, so that's, you know, I go ahead and do it. You know, it's not the end of the world. I had one person ask me to hold off shipping something recently, and it shows up in my metrics as being a late shipment, but the percentage is so low that I didn't really do anything about it. Now, this one, since I'm already dealing with other metrics having issues, if this one bumps me too close to a bad area of the metric, I will just message eBay for Business on Facebook, and I will have them look at, I mean, I'll probably just have them look at both of those orders and just tell them, you know, this was at the customer's request, and I was just making the customer happy, which is what eBay wants us to do. And eBay will remove those defects from my metrics. So I'm not worried about that. It's just kind of, I just want closure. So I just want everything shipped out. And I just have to hold on to these for 2 more weeks. And I really would prefer if people ask ahead of time, but I also understand they don't know for sure that they're going to win. So they paid, and then they asked me in the order. So hold on one second. I'm back. Sorry about that. My husband's at Costco right now, and so he keeps texting me whether he should get certain things. So I keep getting distracted by my phone. Okay. And then the last item in the auctions was the tray. And I did, you can see, had a pretty good result on that. As I said in the first video, I had seen a comp for $65. And so I was thinking, you know what? The tray will probably be the most sought after piece. You know, the cups were a close second. There was 29 bids on those, 14 bids on the tray. Now this tray is big, it's heavy. And if you notice something odd, I had charged shipping in every other listing and auction, and all I had done was sell similar off of each one. And for some reason, eBay switched me to free standard shipping. Like, I never do free shipping, and I would never just pick standard shipping. So I don't even know how that got changed. I didn't notice until Monday, the day before the auction ends, because I think on my computer you can't really see the shipping unless you're opening each one. But I happened to look at my auctions on my phone, and I was like, free shipping. And at that point, it was still down like in the 60s. I was like, you know what? Overall, we're going to make a profit. It's fine. And we're using UPS. And so UPS shipping ended up only being about $15. So not terrible. But I do have to remember to take that out of my total profit for these items. So anyway, yeah, I was kind of upset about that. So I was happy that the bidding did go up higher than the 65 that I had seen mentioned. And so there was plenty of room there to absorb the price. So that's my auctions. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the company very briefly and just why Hadley is something to keep an eye out for right now. Okay, guys, so let's talk about Hadley and a little bit about why it's selling so well right now. So I first started hearing about Hadley in the last few months, like in different reselling groups on Facebook, and people were talking about their different finds, and they were excited when they found pieces, and then they ended up selling. And I was looking at the selling prices that they were sharing, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting, because I've seen Hadley. It is a Louisville, Kentucky pottery company, kind of similar to Louisville Stoneware. And I'd had just like limited experience, but those things just really weren't on my radar, Hadley or Louisville Stoneware. I've said before, I try to limit the amount of breakables that I get. Coffee mugs are fine, smaller little things, but since my husband does his shipping, and for the most part, it's usually on top of his regular job, I try to take pity on him and not just come home with like shelves and shelves and shelves of like dinnerware and breakables and things like that. So it usually has to be something really good, like Arabia, Finland, or Lynn Chase, or things like that we're going to make some pretty good money on. So these, just weren't in my radar, and they're not really my style. They're not my favorite. They're cute. They're very folk art in a very country kind of way, and I could see that being really popular right now. Well, I think one thing I had heard was that they announced that they were closing their doors this year. And so I think that had a big factor in the popularity, as people realized that there might now be shortages of this pottery. So they had announced earlier in the year that they were closing down the factory, and Hadley opened in 1940. So that's a long time to have that legacy in that area in Kentucky. So I think that was explaining the surges. When I looked at listings for Hadley, a lot of things were going at auction, which is the reason why I ended up choosing to sell these at auction. Also because there weren't clear comps on a lot of the items, and so I just wanted to see if the collectors really were serious about this. Now, what's interesting is that I was doing research for Hadley a little while ago, and I came across an article that said that a philanthropist or a businessman local to the area, he basically rescued the pottery company. And so they announced that they were not going to be shutting down, but they were going to restructure a little bit and keep their doors open. And that was he just didn't want to see such a staple of that area, this landmark. He didn't want to see it shut down. And so he rescued the company financially and bought it and kept it open. So that got me wondering whether prices would then drop, or is it just on people's radar right now anyway? So just kind of curious about those types of things. So I just thought, you know what, I should probably auction mine and get them listed sooner rather than later, just in case, this little surge, this little wave ends up dropping again. It's time to do it while I can, while I might get the best prices for the items. Now, what's funny is that when I saw these at Goodwill, it was right after I had heard some of those things in the reselling groups, and I still kind of second guessed myself. So it was like the picture, it was the tray, and it was full of all the different pieces on the tray, and they had it all taped up. And it was right when my Goodwill was, I think they got new people in the back, but they had just started pricing certain collectibles and teapots and things. Like, they were pricing them like $50 and higher, but they're out on the shelves. They didn't have them in their cases. They're just, you could find something on the shelf that was priced at $70, totally breakable. And I'm like, well, if you think it's so valuable, go put it up in the case. But stuff I know is just going to get ruined. But anyway, like I said, the whole big set was pretty heavy, and I guess they just wanted to move it or something, because it was priced at, I want to say $7.99. It could have been $6.99. I kind of have 7 in my head, and I don't remember if it was from rounding up or rounding down. But anyway, $7.99, let's say, $8. And I had my number. So my number's in the thumbnail. I realized as I was talking through the sales that the one item had mistakenly gotten free shipping, and so I need to subtract that out of the number I had in my head already. And so, but my thumbnail and my title and all that will be correct. How much money I made, or how much money all the auctions ended at, of course, before fees and things like that. So let's just talk. I found this article in Architectural Digest, which I thought was really interesting. It's online. You can look for it yourself. So Architectural Digest, it says, don't be surprised when you start seeing M.A. Hadley Pottery everywhere. Okay, so it just had, and that was from the beginning of November. And it just had a nice little rundown of the company and why people like it, right? And why, I don't know, why it's popular, I guess. So, and it talks a little bit about the history. Hadley Pottery was founded in 1940 by Mary Alice Hadley. That's why it's M.A. Hadley. And her family, I think I saw it further down, her family they owned a tile business, so she already knew how to make ceramics, but then she was a self-taught artist. And like I said before, it's just very American folk art kind of style, and that I think is really appealing to a lot of people. So anyway, she was very prolific, and it talked about the time, like it got really popular even at the time in the mid-century, and it was a time where people were more used to having your china handed down to you from your mother and your grandmother and everything, but this was just kind of like art. It was art pottery, and it made art very accessible and collectible, and it wasn't so stiff and formal, and so that was really appealing to people. So it's collectible, and it says that she passed away in 1965, but they have kept going with the business, and there's a way to, if once you get really good at collecting and studying this pottery, you can tell her signatures from the later artist who signed her name to all the pieces. And anyway, so they said, let's see, where is it? It was about to close its doors for good because of the rising costs of production. And then the philanthropist and investor, says Brooks Smith, purchased it. And he wanted to honor the brand and legacy of Mary Alice and all the people who've been working on it and at this factory, or pottery, I guess you call it, since 1940. So it's very collectible. Like I said, you can find it all different places online. And yeah, so I'm glad I took a chance on that, this amount of heavy, breakable type of items. My husband doesn't mind when, obviously when it makes this kind of return, but he did tell me as the auctions were ending, I said, what did you think when I brought it home? Because I brought it home, and like I said, I hesitated. I wasn't sure, should I bring this home? And, what is he going to think? And I think we were about to move. It was right before we were moving, or it was right before our trip. And then we knew we were moving. And I'm like, oh, he's going to be so mad. We got one more heavy breakable thing to try to move. And it just it sat on a shelf for a little while, and it's not his style. So he just looked at it, and he told me later, he said, I just looked at it and he thought, why in the world would you bring this home? And who is going to buy this? And why do we have to deal with this? But he was super excited once the auctions were going and everything. So he was totally fine with that. But yeah, so I'm glad my little information that I found from Facebook groups and from watching other resellers on YouTube, I'm glad all that pays off once in a while. So it still seems to be doing pretty good. So if you see Hadley, you might want to at least look it up on your phone when you get a chance. Okay, everybody, that's it for me. I got to get listing my last video. If you saw it, we have things to list before the new year. And so I have to definitely get a bunch of photos taken today. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. And let me know in the comments below, have you found Hadley? Have you sold Hadley? Has it been a really good seller all along and I just didn't know it? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you next time, and happy selling.